Hi, this is Adam with Advanced Dimensions. Today I'm going to look at the new iCS20 and iCS50 that Leica just came out with. I'm very excited about these new units. They are a culmination of a lot of things that we've wanted to have with the 3D disto, and they've come out with it in this new unit. So I'm going to be looking at the unit. I'm going to be looking at some of its functionality. We're going to be looking at the software. We're going to be going through everything that I can fit into this time window that I have to give you an idea of what to expect with the new iCS20 and iCS50 unit. Let's get started. So you can see on my display here, I got a few different camera views. One is showing me some accessories. One that's got the ICS unit. Currently, I'm using the iCS50, and that's what I'm going to refer to it as for the rest of this video. And then you have an overview of my entire office to give you an idea of where I am in relation to the unit, in relation to what we're scanning. And then up at the top here, we have the view into the software. So you can see what it's looking at and how things work as far as the software goes. So I'm going to do my best to cover everything to give you a really good overview of this new unit and kind of a comparison between what we used to do with the 3D disto and what the new iCS50 has got as far as the upgrades go. I'm very excited about this. I've loved the 3D disto for the 12 years that it's been on the market. I used it for, I think, about 10 of those years. Fantastic unit. Really a great unit to be able to capture reality and bring it in to like a CAD or bring that reality into something that I can then take and adjust and utilize for my fabrication measurements. This new iCS50 is similar to what it exports, but so much better for how it captures the real world conditions. And I'm very excited to kind of go over this with you. I'll give you a couple high level overview, just changes so that you can understand what's going on. One of the things that has changed is before the software was all based off of PC. Excuse me. Based off of PC, and you would have that installed on your laptop or tablet, and then the 3D disto would connect to that, and you would be able to control it with Wi-Fi. That Wi-Fi connection was just a unit to tablet connection. No internet was required. And the same thing applies for this new iCS20 and iCS50 unit. The only difference is the tablet that you're looking at right now is an Android tablet. And it's not just any old Android tablet. It is a specific one that Leica has designated as what needs to be used with the unit. So there are 3 different ones that you can use. There we go. 3 different ones that you can use. One is the Leica tablet that comes with the unit. The other is a Samsung Active Pro 4, which is the one I'm actually using today. Nice thing with that Samsung Active Pro is it comes with a pen, and I love pens when it comes to measuring. And then the other one, I believe, is a European model. I don't actually have the specifications for it, but it's in the manual when you're looking at the manual. So I'm just going to go through this and give you a good feel for what to expect. Again, super exciting. We got to use this tool in the field. For those of you that have watched me or have seen some of my videos before, you know that I don't just advocate for the tool and sell it. We actually use the tool in the field so that we can better help our customers and better understand what's happening. I come from a cabinet making background, so field surveys and measurements are very important in that process, and accuracy is very important. But I also come from a CNC production background, and in that, I like to have that CAD to be able to look and see what's going on in the real world in CAD, make my fabrication decisions from that, and then output that to a CNC machine or a way that I can actually come up with the measurements that are needed for the fabrication side of things. So this tool is going to be very similar in what it exports, but much different in how you capture that data. So let's get into it. So the first thing that you'll notice that's a little different with this unit than the 3D Disto is this has some accessories. This has a pen that you can use. This is called the V pen. This also has a new controller. The new controller has the ability to specify if you want a point or a line or a polyline, which is new for the software. You can also undo and move the unit up, down, left, right, and take the measurement. The best thing about this is, look, you'll notice a little bit different than the 3D Disto. There is no infrared port up here because it's Bluetooth. So this little Bluetooth guy down here at the bottom, that's how it's communicating with the unit and the tablet. So no more over the shoulder, like make sure you're in line of sight. You're able to really, kind of hold it around your neck and use it as needed without having to worry about where the unit is and pointing at it. Super excited about that. And then our unit itself. The unit is mounted on a new Leica tripod that is specifically made for the iCS20 and the iCS50. They have a tripod accessory that you can use to mount it to like a wooden tripod, but this is the one that they're recommending for interior use. For exterior use, we have some wooden tripods that will work. We're happy to help you out on that as far as picking the right one. The other thing is the unit itself. So if you were to look at that in comparison to a 3D Disto, it's quite a lot different as far as the size goes. So a 3D Disto is, we should have one of those around here, but I don't have one right available, but I would show you. This one's quite a lot smaller, much more compact. You can fit it in smaller spots. It is heavy though, but I think it's like 10 or 12 pounds, but it's fantastic feeling unit. The other thing that's majorly different is the unit is not gear driven. So 3D Disto was gear driven. Took a second to get, took a 3-4 seconds to get from one side of the room to the other. This one is a magnetic direct drive. So you can go from one end of the room to the other in less than a second. You'll see that in just a few minutes. The unit is USB, it has USB-C for connection if you needed to. Also powers and will last for the whole day. And the tablet too will last for the entire day for the Leica tablet. For the Samsung one, I haven't tested it yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty similar to the Leica one. All right, let's get into the software because we have a lot to cover in a little bit of time, and I want to make sure that you guys get a full picture of what's going on, not just bits and pieces. So the software is quite a lot more user-friendly. They've gone through some great improvements as far as this goes. The Windows software was good. The last rendition of it had, layer ability. It had the ability to export to CAD. This is going to give you that same ability, but then it also automates some of the functionality. So you get some really good improvement as far as your workflow goes. And that's something that we found while using the tool. So you'll notice right up here at the top, I have some information about instruments and targets and remotes. And then on here is a menu. But I'm going to look at right now, one of the things that's been new is we have the ability to do job templates. So before with the 3D Disto, my suggestion was, hey, just start a new job and add the layers that you want. And you can still do that with this, but you can also set it up so if you're working on a job where it's one room after another that's all similar, but you're just, you don't have to enter those layers every time, you can just use a template. So I've made a template that's our advanced dimensions template, and you can see it's got wall and floor and ceiling, and these are all the layers that are in that. I set the template to default, and now when I go back, if I want to quick start a job, I just hit this and it's going to go off of my template. I can look at projects too a little bit differently. We can have a project and jobs within that project. And those are exporting similarly to the 3D Disto, where you can then take the DWG or DXF file, no DWG yet, but DXF file, 2D or 3D or point file, and send it out. So let's go to just start a job. We're going to pick just a 3D. I'm going to do a similar walkthrough that I used to do with my 3D Disto, because I think it'll give you a good feeling of the differences, but also the speed in which you can do it with this. So right off the bat, what we notice is there's two different views. We have a drawing view here, and we have on the right, and we have a view of where the unit is looking on the left. Before I do anything though, up here at the top, I'm getting a notification that my unit is not leveled. So I'm going to go through and level it. So when I jump up there, it shows me that I am connected. I am charging because it's plugged in. And my spotlight, I can turn that on or off. It's nice in dark rooms, or we were using that last week. And then my level. So I'm going to say, let's do the level. So repeat it. Hopefully this will give you an idea of the difference between the 3D Disto right off the bat. So I'm going through the leveling sequence. You can see the unit is doing a rotation. At the end, it does a little dance to tell you it's pretty good. Just about 7 seconds it takes, and it's level and ready to go. The 3D Disto is quite a bit longer than that in its workflow. And now the other new thing that is happening with this iCS20 and 50 is at the top, you can see there's a little teeny tiny little bump. I'm going to click yes to a panoramic, and you'll see that bump rotate down to where the telescope usually is. And what it's doing is it's doing a 360-degree panoramic image of the room. This is going to be what we use to navigate within the space that we're dimensioning or measuring. We're going to be able to navigate using this panoramic. It's fantastic. A little bit different workflow from what the 3D Disto did, but you'll see in a minute kind of how that looks. So it's going to say, yep, now I can click OK. And now my unit is level. It's placed in my room, and I'm able to start taking some dimensions. Before I do that, though, I want to just show you some other advancements to the software. On the side here, we have some quick buttons that we can do, but those were added by going into settings, and I wanted to just show you kind of what options are available within the software. If you're used to the 3D Disto, some of this is going to make sense, or some of this is going to look familiar. If you're not, this is some of the similarities between the 3D Disto and this new iCS20 and 50 unit. So first things first, in the setup, we have the ability to capture some targets. So those are what you're going to use for relocation, and go through and check your setup or change a height, do a new setup. In measurements, we can take measurements now. We can then also do auto scanning. So we can do a linear scan, which is going to be a scan in a line, whether it's horizontal or vertical or at a slope, or we can do a grid scan, which is going to give us a series of points in certain area of the room. We can also do marking, which is going to be used not necessarily for the measurement side of things, but it's going to be giving us information in the field. So if I wanted to specify a certain point and then go to the left or up or down, I can do that, and it'll show me and mark it on the wall. Again, 3D Disto is very similar in most of this functionality. Or I can do some create, which is more drawing related. We have polyline, we have arcs. So polyline is new. The 3D arc, or the 3-point arc, is from the old software. Circles from the old, rectangles from the old, but we still have that same functionality. Text is very new. That's exciting for me. I used to have to label things with the layer name. Now we can just add a text description, and we could do dimensioning as well. The point of this software is there's 3 different options that you can go. You can do interior measurements, you can do a templating package, and you can do a layout package. I kind of have a hybrid of what's available on this tablet because it's a demonstration one. But the interior measurement one is going to be for the kitchen fabricator who wants to establish what the room is, because they need to figure out if the walls are plumb or square, or the floor is out of level, the ceiling's out of level. Anybody who's looking for measurements on the interior side of things. The templating package is going to include everything that the interior one has, but with the ability to export to maybe the CNC machine, give you some actual files that are going to cut right from the tablet, which is a lot different than what the 3D Disto software had. And then the layout is going to be, for the laying out of maybe a site. You can actually use this unit when it's got that layout functionality as like a simple tool for like surveying concept. So I could lay out a foundation if I needed to, or I could lay out, a specific area within a certain amount of meters. I think it's like 210 meters or something like that. So lots of versatility built into this unit. And the best thing is it's all software driven. So, you could start out with a lower model and then work your way up if you wanted to with upgrading. So the main difference too in the iCS20 and the 50 is really on that long range. You're going to see a difference in accuracies. And on some of those accessories like using the pen or the pole, you'll see some difference in accuracies. If you want to, the other main difference is the iCS20 is not robotic. And the iCS50 is automatically robotic. You can upgrade the iCS20 to the robotic feature, but robotic is not necessarily it moving on its own. It's it working with the V pen. If you're doing any sort of, measurements for fabrication, I found that the upgrade of the pen gives you some extensive versatility as far as capturing those measurements. You'll see as we go through this. So what I've done on the side here is I've just made shortcuts to some of these functions that we're looking at here. So we'll use those shortcuts for the remaining time here. So without further ado, let's get into things because now it's exciting. We're going to show you, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do a perimeter scan of my office. And this is similar to what I've done with a 3D disto. So if you've seen my other videos on the 3D disto, hopefully you'll get a feel for the speed difference that we're going to see with this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to establish 2 points on an area that's going to kind of establish my file. So what I'm going to do is go into my panoramic. And so with the 3D disto, I would drag and hold and move, and it was a little, you'd get used to it after a while, but this is, I found a little bit faster to be able to move in a certain location, to a certain location. Now that I'm here, I have this crosshair that I can move, and you're actually moving it here at the bottom versus trying to hold your finger in the middle of it and not knowing where it's going. So they've improved that. And where I put the crosshair is where the unit's going to go. I have the option to change my targets to a laser. So if I want to actually see the laser point, I can do that. And this will update and show me the laser, and I can see the physical laser here. But I'm going to keep it at this crosshair for right now. So once I'm there, I'm going to hit measure. And it's going to capture the first point, and you'll see the point number 1 here in space. Now we can use this to kind of move over or pick a point with our finger or with the pen, or move it like this, or I can go back to that panoramic view to get me in the right spot. But I'm going to take that second measurement point, and that's going to establish my drawing. If we make a mistake and we need to update that or change that, there was one area that I didn't do is I could go to edit, and we can actually rotate and align the drawing, which we could not do previously. We can do some more drawing functionality here too, where we can intersect and fill it and offset. Offset's really cool. We can insert an object if we have like a sink cutout for those guys who are doing templating and they want to send it directly to the CNC machine. That sink cutout's pretty cool. And even scale and trim and extend. So they got a lot more CAD functionality built into this software. So I've got my first 2 points. Now I'm going to switch this from a point to a polyline. And when I look at those settings, we have a few different options here. I can capture a photo for every point now. 3D disto could not do that. I can auto intersect. So when I go around a corner, instead of me going back afterwards in the drawing and squaring it out, going to CAD and squaring it out, I can just do it right from here. Super fantastic. I'll show you what it takes. I'll show you what it looks like to take a measurement with the photo, and then I'll show you what it takes to do it without. So I'm going to go into my panoramic, and I'm going to go up to the top here. I'm actually going to start up here. And now that I'm there, I usually hold off the corners about the 3 inches that the mud is there. We got the mud in the corner. So for my general room information, this is fine. So I'm going to take the first point. My remote gives me some audio feedback when I'm in the field. We have silenced that just because it gets a little annoying when we're trying to do a video. But in the field, it's fantastic. So here, I'm just going to, again, pinpoint where I want, hit the measurement. So again, if you're used to seeing me do this with the 3D disto, this is going to look kind of familiar, but hopefully it'll look a whole lot faster. So notice it's taking a little bit of time because it's taking a photo as it's doing it. If I disable that, because I really don't need to see a photo on these walls, you'll see the point goes a little bit much faster, actually. But that's nice to be able to basically just turn that on and off. With the 3D disto, you could only take a photo and you would specify it, and it wouldn't necessarily happen at the same time the point was being taken. It would be separate. So you would see the point in the photo, but with this unit, I have the ability to turn it on and turn it off as needed. So if you have those certain points that you want to note, it's great. So one thing I am going to show you here is you'll notice that the camera quality is pretty decent. Now, when you go to the panoramic, it's a little blurry, but that's okay because it's really just giving me an idea of where to look. But after I finish this room, I'm going to show you this camera because it is so much better. There's actually two cameras in this unit, there's two cameras in this unit, and those cameras have different functionality. So you have a long range one and you have a more up close one. So we're going to just go in and, forgive me, I don't know the technical terms, but I just know that it works. So get this last point here. And what's cool with this drawing view is I can zoom in and zoom out and see, okay, everything looks good. And I did rotate it, so that was my fault here. Apparently when you hold two fingers there, it rotates. But now I'm going to just close this polyline. And look what happened. I closed it. It automatically squared out those corners. So fantastic. I can't tell you how fantastic that is. I'm making sure that I'm in my 3D view too, so we can orbit this. We can see what's going on. But that just saved me a bunch of work just in the software workflow itself. But let me show you this camera because this camera is exciting. So if I go in and let's find a detail that we can really kind of look at here. So let's look. So this view here, we look at this and go, what's going on here? So you can see, okay, when we zoom out, it gives us a pretty clear view, but the 3D disto is not really similar. It was still blurry at this view, but now when I zoom in and I zoom in more, look at it, just updated. Oh, so cool. This still excites me. Sorry, guys. I can actually look at this. This is where a screw is popping in my office. Forgive my office, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Look how clear that is. It's amazing, the camera quality of this unit. And if I move this around, look at this detail. Sorry, I'm just getting excited myself. This is so cool. I haven't done this a lot, but look at the stick of detail of that. It's so cool. So when you're outside, that's even better, obviously, because you're zooming in quite a bit. And before with the 3D disto, you'd have to zoom all the way in and zoom all the way out. This actually has a zoom out button. Oh no, zoom in. Sorry, excuse me. So you can get right to the max immediately and not have to go through all the different settings. As you can see too, when I zoom all the way out, it kind of switched that camera view. So now we can see what's going on. So it's super awesome camera improvement there. So what I've done so far is I've done a perimeter scan. Now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to switch to the countertop layer. I'm going to imagine, hey, I'm doing like a scribe of a countertop. I'm going to pick this guy up here. Just make sure I'm in the right spot. I'm going to switch it to the laser, which it will automatically switch to when I go into a auto scan so I can see where it's going. But I just did it there a little bit ahead of time. So what I'm going to do is do like an auto scan of this little niche in my office, the one that you see on on this drawing view here. Give me a little bit more detail. So I'm going to go to auto scan. If you're familiar with the 3D disto, you're familiar with some of these settings. We have a horizontal, a vertical, or a sloped. So horizontal is going to stay level, vertical is going to stay plumb, and slope is going to go in between 2 points. I'm going to set it to 360, so it's just going to start and stop whenever I tell it to, or we could do point to point. But this is a new feature. We have 2 new features, actually. Auto intersect. So if I take a corner, it's going to automatically pick that corner for me. And my interval. So you can see I'm at decimal. We can change this to fractional, but before with the 3D disto, it was, 2 inch, 4 inch, I think like 16, 18, and then there was a custom one where you could add a custom, but you didn't have the ability to do fractions or like less than an inch. You could go to half an inch, but you couldn't go like 2.5 or 3.5. You'd have to go 3 or 4 or 5. So half an inch was the lowest you could go. With this, we can actually go to a 1/16 of an inch. I actually saw too that you could do a 32nd, but I was trying to get it to work and I couldn't do it. So we'll say 1/16. It could get better later. But right now I'm going to say, let's do 2.5. And we're going to hit accept and we're going to hit confirm. And this is just to help if we don't want to see this. I'm going to hit that so we don't see it for the rest of the time. And we're going to hit, let's start to measure. Now the first point that it takes just establishes where it wants to go. And we have the ability now to offset. So if I wanted to offset up or down, say I hit a point on the floor and I want to be 36 inches off the floor for my countertop, I could do that and have that offset give me that ability. But I can also change that interval, but I'm just going to hit start. And now the unit's going to kind of figure out where it is, figure out where horizontal is, and it's going to start the scan. One thing that you'll notice with this scan is it's quite a lot faster. So the initial start might be a little bit slower than the 3D disto, but once it gets its momentum, its scan is much faster. So we're going to stay at this 2.5 inch increment for a few points. And then once I get closer to the corner, we're going to switch to that 1/2 inch increment like we've done in the past. So we're going to pause it and we're going to go into options and I'm going to say, no, let's go 0.5, accept, confirm, resume. And now it's going to go through and update that to every 1/2 inch. So it can give me a really good visual of exactly what's happening with that mud joint. Once it rounds the corner though, it's going to actually square that out automatically in the software. So a lot different, before in the 3D disto software, I have to go back and either do it in the software or when I exported it, I would do it in CAD. This is just doing it automatically. So that workflow is so much better. Also notice when it rounds this corner, it starts to take the points quite a lot faster. So the speed, again, has just been such an improvement. As it takes a few of these, I'm going to hit pause and hit update. And I'm going to change the scan interval to 6. Confirm and resume. Here's another thing that's exciting. While it's scanning, I can actually zoom in and zoom out of the software, rotate it around, see exactly what's happening. And notice as it's scanning too, it's isolated only this scan. So I'm not seeing all the other points that I've taken. I'm only seeing the scan that I'm working on. And when it's doing automatic scanning, that's a fantastic feature. So I'm going to pause. Talking too much, I missed. So we'll go 0.5 and accept and confirm and resume. Should go back and hit those points. So now it's going to just capture this corner. So that automatic scanning gives us the ability to really see in the drawing what's happening. I can even zoom in and see that it's going to round the corner here in a little bit. And it's going to go and continue taking measurements. So super, super. Again, the workflow, they really put a lot of thought into this. This has been in the works for many years. We had some internal meetings with Leica, and we were going through some of the things that we'd like to see in a new unit, and really everything that I wanted has been incorporated, and it's really exciting to use this and to see this. So I just switched it back to that 2.5 inch. The other thing that I like is with the software, it actually shows us the laser and kind of like where it's looking. So I can see the unit and I can see kind of the angle at that laser it's looking. As I'm going through this, I'm going to just pause it as it rounds this last corner, and we'll get that 1/2 inch increment. All right, so we're going to pause and do half. If I wanted to, I could put in 0.25, 0.25. I could put in 1/8. You can go to a much smaller. Let's actually, so see 0.39, so that's a millimeter. So I can go to just a little bit over 1/32 of an inch. So fantastic. Anyways, but for right now, for time's sake, let's just do 1/2 inch. So like if I was doing trim or I was doing something like that at 1/32 of an inch, I could get a pretty good interval. I could get a pretty good idea of what's exactly happening. And hit pursue. So now it's going to go and it's going to round this last corner, and then we'll get into the next feature, which is the grid scan that I want to look at. So that, again, if you've looked at my 3D Disto walkthrough, it's going to be very similar in the beginning, but the speed is what I'm trying to showcase with this new unit. So we're going to pause this and hit finish and hit accept, and watch when I hit accept, it's gonna now show me everything. It's going to say, do I want to do a new scan? I actually don't. And now it shows me all the measurements that I took. So having that isolation feature is really nice to be able to visualize what's going on. I'm going to switch back to wall, and I'm going to show you the grid scan. The grid scan, similar to the 3D Disto, but again improved. We have a surface. We can do rectangular or polygon. Polygon. I like the polygon because it allows me to establish the entire perimeter. And now I'm going to just say, let's do every, 6 inches. We'll see what that looks like. Confirm. And now it's asking me to measure a perimeter. So I'm going to switch back to this view, and we're just going to locate this guy about here. Great. And I'm going to hit measure, and you'll see it kind of, again, it's isolating it, so I don't have to worry about turning layers on and off. And I'm going to measure this and go back to this view, and we'll get over to here and measure this. Again, after I've gotten used to it now, it took me one day using it. Now that I've gotten used to this method, it's going to be very hard to, if I have to go back to the 3D Disto to use that. So now this looks good. I'm going to hit accept. Now it's going to give me a preview, and it's going to say this is where it's going to go. Let's do 8 inches, see what that does. Yeah, let's do 10 inches. So hit accept. That looks good. I'm going to hit the play button, and now you'll see the speed in which it does this. We were utilizing this a lot last Thursday when we were using it on a job, and this functionality was so fast and so exciting to be able to utilize. The grid scan's a great feature, but with the 3D Disto, sometimes it took a little bit of time to really get things going, and now you can see I'm done. So here I can say accept. This time I do want to actually perform a new scan. Same thing, we're going to change this interval to say 30 though. And now I'm going to hit confirm, and this new scan I want to be in the ceiling layer. And now it's going to ask me to do a scan. Now before, when I used to do this, I used to just do 3 little points right in this area of my ceiling. But this time I'm going to show you the whole ceiling. So with this panoramic view, I can really establish this perimeter very quickly. So I'm just kind of switching. I'm not going to do the little niche area. I'm just going to kind of establish my perimeter. But I can, with the unit and moving, I can get there so much faster with this new panoramic view. The other thing that's nice about the panoramic view is it gives me the view of what's happening. So like if this had, the framing wasn't that great, or whatever the picture of, whatever's happening at this moment in this room is in that picture. So I'm going to hit approve, and then I can get a view. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to hit go, and this goes really quick on the ceiling. We've noticed, again, it's just so exciting to see all those things that I've kind of longed for and wished for. in the functionality of the 3D disto come to life in this new unit and more. You know, it's not just limited to, you know, what some of the things that the 3D disto could do. It's got so much more functionality. So in just a minute or so, we're going to have this, or less than that. In a couple more seconds, this will be done, and I'll show you some points on the floor, and then I'll show you the really cool, the pen. It's so exciting. So now we're going to do accept. It's going to ask me if I want to do a new one. I actually don't, so I'm going to say no. Now notice the drawing just got a little bit more plumped out with all the information that we have so far. So again, if you're used to the 3D disto walkthrough, you'll see I've already got quite a lot more information here in just about the same amount of time, if not less, than I did with the 3D disto with this new feature, or with this new unit. So now I want to take this to the next level. I want to get some more finer details. And I'm going to switch to the electric, and we're going to switch to the pen. So there's between the pen and the relocation, just those two features alone really add so much value to this entire package that I wouldn't recommend not having the pen in using it. So now I'm going to switch from a just any surface. We have a sphere option, which it goes with the V pole, which I'll show you, but I was not really going to utilize today. We have the V pen, we have a V target, we have tape if we wanted to make our own targets. The round one is an option if you wanted to actually use like a prism, more for the surveying side of things. So I'm going to switch to the V pen, and we're going to locate some electrical components. So now that it's switching to the V pen, it's looking. And look, it says it's not locked. So up here, I can kind of get this pen in view. Actually, I'm going to just move it so that I can talk while I do this. So it's going to move, and now it's automatically locked on this. This is the exciting part. Look at the unit. So as I move this pen, it's going to track me. And it's tracking everything off of that top sphere and the dots that you see. If they're not all, if even some of them are showing it's going to work. If it's completely gone, it'll lose target for a second, but then it'll pick it right back up again. Very versatile, very user-friendly when you're in the field. It's just a really exciting thing. So now the other thing I want to show you is what the software is doing in the back end. So before, you kind of like always were wondering where your laser was or where your position was. This shows me. So it actually shows me where things are. So if I had this happen when I was testing it at Leica's headquarters. I was measuring a staircase just to play around with the unit, and I couldn't remember if I took a point or not. And so with the software, I was able to put the pen on the point that I thought I took and see if I did it or not. And I did. And, I was able to keep going. So lots of things that you can do to just confirm that things are good. So the pen, now I'm going to just take it, and I'm going to take my, I'm going to zoom out so you can see what's going on here. And we'll just orbit this around. And I've switched it to electrical. And I'm going to take my remote with my pen. There are no buttons on the pen. It's just a piece of aluminum with this sphere on top, which is doing all the work. And the pen tip itself is down to a 0.5 millimeter. So you got very precise tip that you can use. But I used the pen in combination with the remote control. So I'm just going to be touching the measurement button when I want to take measurements. And I'm set to polyline. So I'm going to come over to the wall and do this. So here, I'm just going to pick my corners. And I'm going to establish my switch location. And then I'm going to look at my drawing, and I'm going to zoom in and see, okay, there's my outlet, and there's my switch, and I'm going to close that. And now I'm going to just go get a couple more. So you'll see me take it across the room. So before, when we were doing this, we would only do like one outlet. And now I'm able to get a whole lot more dimensions in the same amount of time. So even with me going through and moving around, it's able to keep up with me. So what we found is this pen is really beneficial for getting these finer details. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to see, okay, yep. So actually it looks like I forgot to close the polyline, which is actually okay because I want to show you, you do have the same ability. So let's just accept. And I'm going to select this line and hit delete. Should be just this one. Delete. And now I can select this. So we still have similar functionality to close that to what we could do with the 3D disto. Well, not similar. We have much more versatility. So I can just come in and I can select and I can explode it, or I can close it, or I can delete the entire polyline. So there's my outlets done in the same amount of time I would have done with the 3D disto. I did 3 of them in the same amount of time I did 1, and they're more accurate as far as the placement. Now, the other benefit to this pen is, what if I have a surface that's reflective? What if I have a surface that's glass? Before with the 3D disto, I would have to tape it off. I would have to move the unit, one way or the other to get the right view to be able to establish what's going on. Now with this pen, if I wanted to locate my door or the window or something, I can just use it and go over and capture right where I want on the glass. So this is just a window on my door, but I'm going right to the corner and I'm able to establish the exact location of this window. I mean, sorry to say, but eat your heart out, 3D disto on that. I can come over here and I can establish this window and I can establish, what needs to happen here. And we'll just follow this around. And down. So I'm just working my normal pace and we're able to track very well with this unit. So now that that's done, I'm going to just look at the drawing and make sure things look good. I'm going to say, well, let's see here. I want to just clean up this window here. So we're going to say this guy, delete. And this was that one window. So with the details, we can really, drill into exactly what needs to happen in this room and just capture all the details very quickly. And we're now walking away with a file that's massive amount of points, that the accuracy is plus or minus, 6 to 10 millimeters, like some of these other high resolution point cloud scanners. We're walking away with the precision cloud that we need. The points are within a millimeter or less. And we're able to just walk out with a lot of data in a little bit of time. And it's a fantastic tool. I find that this is working with where I want to be, as the user, whereas the 3D disto I was always trying to improve my efficiency to get the best yield out of my time in the unit. This unit has the ability to keep up with me. And that's exciting. The last thing, and this is one of the more exciting things for me. The pen is a great add, right? The sphere is a new, it's a pole. I'll show you that. This pole is another option to be able to capture. So same principle. It works off of the sphere on the top, and it judges where the pole is. I'll do a specific video. on the pole to give you an idea of how that works. I'm probably outside because it's going to be nice for that. But the newer thing is the relocation. And so let me show you how that works. So if I go in and I need to relocate my unit, before with the 3D disto, It used to be set up 3 minimum targets. I would always tell my customers set up 5 because I've had some issues where, that 4th and 5th target are great for the relocation side of things. I have somebody, bounces off their hard hat when you think you got it, you didn't get it, and you move the unit and now you realize you're in trouble. But having that 4th and 5th target really give you that ability to make sure you're doing it right, or you're able to do the relocation without an issue. So with this new unit, there is a new target option, and it's called a V target. Now, what I'll show you is, if I go to my panoramic view, I have a V target here on top of my computer. I have another one there, but look at them. They're actually different. They are unique. And so it's actually trying to find my pen. So I'm going to switch to V target. It's trying to find my pen. So I'm going to go back. And you look, they're unique. And there's another one right behind me, and it's same concept. It is unique. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this first one, and I'm just going to, roughly aim. Now, they are unique in terms of the pattern that's on them, but they're not unique. Every one of them has a crosshair, if you will. So you can see right in the middle of this, kind of looks like an alligator trying to eat something, or a Pac-Man, but right just at the bottom left-hand corner of the eye is the pinpoint of it. So what we're going to do is I've set it to V target, and I've got it in my crosshair here roughly, and I'm going to hit measure. And now no hands. The unit is going to automatically pinpoint the exact center of that target and establish it in the software as a control point. So before with the 3D Disto, we had to precisely aim, and if you did a bad job, it would kick you out and say, sorry, you did a bad job, do it again. With this unit, it automatically aims for you. So you are, the 3D Disto is 6 to 10 minutes of relocation. This is like a minute, 2 minutes. So now I'm going to do another target. Say it's set to V target, so I don't have to mess with that again. And I'm going to add this one. So get it again, roughly in that rectangle. I can even pull it out. And as long as it's within that rectangle, I hit measure, no hands. It's going to go, and it's going to center itself on its own. And because of the unique pattern, it knows which target it is. So this one is target number, I think 3. Yep. So before with the tape targets that we used to use, you would hope that you got the right one, but with this one, it knows it's the right one. And so I'm going to do this last one again, no hands. This is kind of fun because there's the bones of a 3D Disto in the background there. This is ironic. The 3D Disto is a great tool, but this one's so much better. So now we got V target 1. So what I was going to say with the fact that it knows the targets is there's now a minimum of 2 targets. And those 2 targets are all that's required because you're not going to mix them up. So before there was a minimum of 3 because they weren't sure. Well, what if you hit target number 1 and target number 2, but you had them mirrored? It needs that 3rd target to place it so that it can let you know if you're in the right spot. With this one, it only needs a minimum of 2 because it knows which target is which, and there's no possibility of it getting mirrored. So now I'm going to show you what happens when you bump the unit or you got to relocate the unit. And then after that, we'll look at the export information, and we'll go from there. So this unit is much more, I wouldn't say much more sensitive. The 3D Disto is very sensitive, but this one is much more responsive when it comes to the movement alert. Like the 3D Disto sometimes would take a second to realize that it's moved, and then it would throw up the error. But then when it did that, you'd have to go through the whole relocation process, which was that, 6 to 10 minutes, or longer if it was a sensitive situation. So now my unit has moved, and I'm going to say, yep, let's do a new setup from my known points. And yeah, we're just going to hit start. But first thing first, it's going to go through its leveling sequence. Again, with a 3D disto, this was 1 minute, 2 minutes, depending on how you had it set up. This takes approximately 7 to 10 seconds. So it's going to go through, does this little dance at the end, and then it goes up. And it will say, okay, I'm ready to start measuring, but first, do you want to take a panoramic? And I'm going to say yes, because this is a new setup. You know, if you think about moving the unit, you're going to want to have that perspective of where the unit is. These panoramics too do export when you export the file. So very good to be able to see them after the fact. Once it's done capturing the panoramic, all I need to do is basically hit the 2 points hit the 2 control points. Doesn't matter which ones I pick, but I'm still in the V-target mode. One thing that I like that's really cool is notice the top bar is yellow, meaning it's not like don't start taking measurements yet because it still needs to be located. So now I can go into my panoramic. I can say, all right, let's do this alligator. We gotta name this guy. He's gotta be Jerry. We're gonna call him Jerry. We're gonna hit Jerry here and we're gonna hit measure. It's already in V-target from before. It's going to look at that and go, okay, automatically center, knows which target it is. Oh, didn't like this one. Let's try that again. We did notice that with this unit, you had to be a little bit at a certain distance away from the V-target. That one didn't work the first time, but worked the second time, so it's all right. With the automation this gives us, I'll give it a little bit of slack. Going to grab this one, and really this is all that we need. So it's going to go through and it's going to find the center. It's going to say, yep, this looks good. And now look, I just have the option to accept. I can see some details here so we can see, you know, kind of what's going on, horizontal and vertical error. Where, you know, the first one's 0, 002, 02, you know, 02, so we're fine. Everything's good there, and I can just hit confirm, accept. Now when I do that, now notice my top bar is black. So this part up here is black, and we're ready to start taking measurements again or start, you know, where we left off. So super easy for the relocation. I never have done relocation in like this walkthrough with the 3D disto because it took too long. I saved that for training. So, you know, the fact that I've gotten all the scans, I've shown you the auto scans, I've shown you the V pen, I've shown you the relocation all within a certain, in 54 minutes. The fact that I have it under an hour is just amazing with this unit. So the last little bit, I just want to show you what would happen is now I want to save this job. I can go back to the job and open the last job. And here's the one that we were just working on. Now I can say, I want to save it. So we can say, let's do this. We'll say Adams. Oops. We'll say Adam Office. And we'll just add a space and hit accept. This is giving us a preview of the file. It shows us the layers, shows us the dashboard. We can see that panoramic. We can see the control points, the measurement points, some stats on it. It shows us the tolerance, or this actually tells us what tolerance I selected. If I wanted to start the project, I could hit start. If I want to export the project, which is what I want to do, I'm going to hit export. And now I'm going to just pick, okay, I want to go to downloads, or I could go to external storage. Like when I was in the field last week, I plugged in a jump drive and that's where I saved everything, but I'll do internal storage. And we can then, once we get back to the office, upload this to Google Drive and hit next. And now here's all the options. So I could do all formats if I wanted to, or I could pick what I want. So I could do all my images, my points list, my CADs. The CNC DXF and the Alpha Cam is part of the templating package. So if you didn't have the templating package, those would be gone, but you'd still have the ability to export the 2D DXF and the 3D DXF file. So those are the ones that I typically use. And when I hit export, it's going to create those files and give me an approval, and I can hit share or don't share. And then I can then have those for later. So what I'm going to show you next is a file that we worked on last week, but you can see it's very similar to what we were just looking at. but I'm going to switch to that view. And this is an export from the unit, from the tablet. And I have just turned off some layers so you can see it with the layers on. And I can orbit this. So these layers, I did some grid scanning, so it was just giving me an idea of what those points were. So I'm going to just turn off those layers. But we can see here, I'm actually going to come up from a top view. Oh, I forgot. I messed with the, let's just hold this guy. I added some of these guys, so we're going to hide those. That's just my dimensions and stuff. So here we have a room. So I've isolated each wall. I've isolated some points of interest for the doorway perimeter. And I've gone through and isolated a lot of plumbing for this. But using the pen, I was able to really specify exactly what this was, get the diameters of the pipes that were coming off the wall. I knew it was right where I wanted it to be. And now I'm able to take this information and generate files for the fabrication or the sizing for the paneling that's going in this project. So that's really all I wanted to cover in this. It helps if I go to the right view here. That's all I wanted to cover in this walkthrough. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of this new unit, what to expect, how the software works, and the excitement that this is going to bring. Now, pricing on this unit, it does change based on which package you would get. I would say just, if you're interested, these units are going fast. We have quite a bit on order, and I'm expected to sell them out very quickly based off the interest that we've had and the customers that have already agreed to purchase them. So, if you're interested, let us know. We are the largest dealer in North America, and I intend to stay that way and grow even bigger because this unit is it's massive. It's broad across all industries. And the thing that sets us apart from other dealers is we actually go out in the field. We take measurements. I come from that cabinet making background, but I also really love that measurement process. We've measured staircases, we've measured glass, we've measured stone, we've measured steel, you name it, I've measured it. I've done hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of projects and with the 3D Disto, and that experience just translates directly into this unit, and the functionality that this unit has just gives me more efficiency. So we are very proud of that and are very, excited that we can bring that and offer that to our customers as that experience. So we're not just selling these units. We really like to showcase how to use them and give you best practice as far as that goes. So just a little bit about us, but if you're interested, jump on our website. You can see the different packages that are offered. Leica has those three different packages. We're going to be offering our own packages like we had with the 3D Disto, based off of our experience, the things that work in the field. And there's exciting news to come with some of these other packages that we're offering. But if you're interested in pricing, shoot Noah or myself an email and we'll get you some pricing on these units. Again, brand new to the industry. September 13th was the soft announcement. They're actually doing a little bit bigger of an announcement on the 27th. So this should be out before that. And if you're interested, Noah.a, A as in Adam, at advanceddimensions.com. Just shoot him an email and he'll get you a quote. Or you can also, email me. I'm Adam at advanceddimensions.com, and I'll either connect you with Noah so that we can get something rolling. But we're excited to get these units into customers' hands and hear the stories that we're going to hear for the improvements that they see from the 3D Disto or just in general. So really cool, really cool. So we're, that's pretty much it. I can go on for a little while, but I just hope that this was a really good overview so you can understand what's going on. And we're excited to talk to you. Thanks for watching, and catch us on the next video.